Alright, so you should be doing the bell work 1 and 2. Just a reminder, you have a binder for this class. That's where you keep your notes. Your folder will be kept in that blue bin up front. You'll get graded work back pretty soon. Usually quick.
Coach Strati, please report to...
Both of these you should be able to do, just reminding you. We went over how to do number 1. Number 2 is the same exact thing, except for it takes it one step further. Alright guys, I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds, then we're going to go over both of these. Alright, let's start with number 1. So I've always done it by drawing a line down the equal sign. That's how I taught you last year. You'll see a lot of teachers do that. This is one of those questions that we did last year. We did last week also. So let's look. We're going to start with our minus 40. The inverse of subtracting 40 is to add 40. So I'm going to add 40 to both sides. When I do this, it leaves me with 1/2 x on the left. And on this side, it leaves me with 263 on the right. We talked about this last week, just a reminder. When I have a fraction when a fraction is my coefficient, I can use the reciprocal to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 over 1. Could have also divided by 1/2. These cancel, leaving me with x. And this side is 526, because 263 times 2 is 526. Could have plugged it in, found true. Now that side asked you to solve for x, so we are done with that problem because we have solved for x. Questions on number 1? Yes, ma'am. You just flip the fraction. Yes, sir. Good. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Doesn't have to be less or equal. I mean, you're multiplying times a fraction, not multiplying times a whole number. Guys, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. You should have had 0 issue with that problem. I'm talking 0. That is a last year question. And we spent a month and a half last year on solving variables, so we should be good on it. The second one, it gives us an equation, but then it asks us to find the value of 3x plus 5. In order to solve for 3x plus 5, I have to know what x equals. So I'm going to solve for x. Opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6. 21 minus 6 is 15. Cancels these. Negative 3x. Coefficients and negatives, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. And we should have gotten negative 5. Now that doesn't answer our question, because our question didn't ask us to solve for x. Our question asked us, what then is the value of 3x plus 5? So I need to go back in and plug it in. I now know what my x equals, so I'm going to plug it in. 3 times negative 5 plus 5, negative 15 plus 5. So the value of that equation is negative 10. You should have had 0 problem solving for your x here. And then you should have been able to plug it into our second equation. All right, questions on number 2. All right, so today we're going to be looking at putting equations in words. Most of chapter 1 is all review from earlier grades. So this should be familiar to you at least. So let's look. We have 7 less than a number. So I have a number, and whatever this number is, it's going to be 7 less than. And that word less than is a subtraction word. So n minus 7, which matches D. A number decreased is also a subtraction word. So we have a number, and it's being decreased. So I'm subtracting it by 11, which matches E. The next one throws people off all the time, 75% of a number. Well, first of all, can I work with things in a percent form? No. There's 2 forms a percent has to be changed into to work with. What are our 2 forms? Fraction or decimal. All right, so I'm going to look over here, and I do have 1 fraction and 1 decimal, 2 decimals, but this fraction has an 8 in it, so I'm going to guess that they wanted this in a decimal form. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to a decimal form above it. Of a number tells me I'm going to be multiplying. That of, a lot of the times in math does mean multiplication. There are few exceptions to the rule, but 99% of the time that of is going to be multiplication in our case. So we're going to have 70.75% of a number. I'm not going to put the x, I'm just going to put it right next to the variable, which matches h. They did put the 0 in front, which is okay. Any questions on the first 3 so far? All right. All right, let's look at the next one. 10 times the difference of a number. Well, we have 2 words there that are operations. We have times, which means multiplication, and we have difference, which means subtraction. So we have 10 times the difference. Well, can I just put multiplication then subtraction? I'm writing it lightly because we're going to erase that. Can I put that? Is this okay to put times minus? No. So I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to use a parenthesis for it to represent that multiplication. Remember, multiplication can be written as a multiplication sign. It can be written with a dot. It can be written with parentheses. It can be written just a coefficient and variable next to each other, right? But since this hasn't told me what number I'm multiplying by yet, I'm going to use parentheses. And it's going to be something that has a difference. A number and 7. So the number and 7, so this part right here, the difference of a number of 7, is going to be in minus 7, which help us then see that goes inside our parentheses. 10 times whatever the difference is, which matches G. Seven more than twice a number. So again, we have 2 operation words there. We have more than, which is an addition word, and we have twice, which means multiplication, but it's a special multiplication because it's a 2 times. So I have 7 more than twice a number. Now that doesn't quite 100% match any of our answers because it is addition and we can flip it, which matches A. Any questions on the last 2 we've done? See if you and your partner can do the last 3. If you choose to do them by yourself, that's okay, but at least double check with your partner. Right. Looks like most of you or all of you are finished with it, so let's look at them. 7 plus, so we have plus, which is an addition word. The quotient, which is a division word, of a number and 8. So I'm going to do 7 plus the quotient. Now, how do we normally write quotients at this level, in junior high level? Do I normally do this little division symbol? You can't see that. No, not usually. Do we usually even use this division symbol? No. What do we normally use? We normally use a fraction. Very good. So we're going to have a fraction of a number and 8, which matches C. Any questions on that one? Might have been easy when you only had 3 left to kind of guess from, but let's look at the last two. 4 times, so we have a multiplication word there, the sum, which is an addition word, of a number and 7. So I'm going to do 4 times, but I don't want to use an X. I guess I could use a dot if I wanted to. We're going to replace it in a little bit. The sum of, so I'm going to have sum of something, of a number and 7. So I'm going to change that dot to a parenthesis sign, which matches B. And then the last one, a number decreased. Decreased is a subtraction. And we can't work with percents as a percent, so need to change it to either a decimal or a fraction. I'm going to change it to a decimal. Most of the time we do change our percents to decimals. Very rarely can I think of times where we would actually change it to the fraction. We normally use it as a decimal. So we're going to do a number decreased, subtracted, by 7%. But can I just put 0.07? Because it's 7% of what? Some of you are answering, but you're going to have to speak up. 7% of what? Of our number. I know you know it's in because it's the last option left. But it can't just be subtract by 7%. Because percent has to be of something. So of a number, of the number. Very good, which matches F. Any questions about any of those so far? All right, let's look at number 1 at the bottom. All right. So we're going to write an equation for each situation, and then we're going to solve it. So we have 6 more than 3 times a number is negative 36. So we have more than, which is an addition word. 3 times, times is a multiplication word. And what does is mean to us? Equal, very good. So we're going to have 6 more than 3 times a number. And I'm using n just because we're solving for a number. Can I use any variable I want? Yeah, you can. A lot of times they'll abbreviate just based on what you're solving for. So here we're solving for number. So n is negative 36. Any issues with setting that up? Go ahead and solve on your own. All right, so this is a plus 6. The opposite of that is to subtract 6. Canceling my 6's, leaving me with 3n. Negative 36 minus 6 is negative 42. Divide both sides by 3, because when I have a coefficient next to a variable, means multiplication. And negative 42 divided by 3 is negative 14. You can then plug in and check if you wanted to. There are 2 parts to this question, and I will be grading both parts when it comes to homework tests, quizzes, assignments. Did you write the equation correctly? Did you solve it correctly? Okay. Questions on that one? No? All right. Let's go ahead and set up number 2 together. 12 is 16 less than. What we have is, so that's our equal sign word. 16 less than, which is a subtraction. 4%, which I don't like it when it's in percent, so I'm going to go ahead and write that it's a decimal above it, because we are horrible at remembering things like that. 4% of a number, and that word of is going to tell us multiplication. All right. So we have 12 is, there's our equal sign, 16 less than. So is my 16 going to go first or second? Let's think about it. If I tell you that you have 3 less cookies than you did this morning, does that mean I take 3 minus how many cookies I had, or do I take cookies minus 3? I have 3 less cookies. You have 3 less dollars than you did. It goes number than subtraction, because I'm taking that, in this case, 16 from whatever my number is. So I'm going to be subtracting 16 from it. Some people a lot of times will remember that this less than means I'm going to switch these 2 parts. Maybe that'll help some of you. All right, so I'm going to do 4%, 0.04 times n. Go ahead and see if you can solve on your own. All right. So we need a little more time. All right, what am I going to start with to solve this? Thank you. I'm going to add 16. Thank you for adding the both sides. Those of you who had me last year know that those words make me happy. You knowing that it needs to happen, both sides. It's a balance. When I have 0.04 and an n right next to each other, what operation is that? Multiplication. So the opposite is to divide. This is when having a calculator is pretty handy, because you can do 28 divided by 0.04, and we get 700. Questions on that one? All right, I see. I'm going to be blunt. Those of you who haven't had me, I'm pretty blunt and straightforward with you. I see some of you not solving on your own. If you're not understanding, you need to ask, because this is the foundation for the entire school year. You being able to solve for variables. All right? All right. Now we're going to look at it in some word problem. A moving company charges $1,200 for supplies needed to pack up a small house, an additional $90 per hour to do the loading and moving. If the cost of moving is $1,740, how many hours did the moving company need to move the small house? Side note, one thing I do love about this curriculum is the numbers are very accurate. This is how much it really costs, for the most part, to have someone come move your stuff for you. All right, so let's look at it. We have charges $1,200 for supplies. So that's a one-time thing, right? This is a one-time. I'm not going to have to pay them multiple times for supplies, am I? No. Pack up a small house. An additional, we got operation word there, means add 90 per. Oh, there's another operation word. What's per mean? Multiplication. It could mean in some rare cases division, but most of the time it does mean multiplication. To do loading and moving. If the cost of moving is, that sounds like a total, doesn't it? So I'm going to put total, and I'm going to put an equal sign next to it. How many hours did the moving company need to move the small house? So what are we going to be solving for in this case? Hours. We're going to be solving for hours. So I'm going to use an H. I like to use the letter also because it reminds me at the end of the problem what I was solving for. So we're going to start off with, we're going to pay $1,200 no matter what. Even if it takes them 30 minutes, we're still going to pay $1,200. Plus the $90 per hour. So we're going to multiply there, and I'm going to use an H. Now, the reason we're not using parentheses there is because it's not 90 times the sum of something. Okay? I'm just doing 90 times the hours. And the total is 1,740. Anybody confused on how we broke down that problem to write an equation? All right, go ahead and solve. All right, let's go ahead and look. So what are we going to start with in this problem? Thank you. Subtracting 1,200 from both sides. That means that for the 90 hours of work, $90 per hours of work, I'm really only paying $540. The majority of that was for packing materials. Divide both sides by 90. And they spent 6 hours. Is that a reasonable answer? Does it make sense that it would take 6 hours maybe to move a small house? Yes, it does make sense. If you have never moved something, that makes a lot of sense. Okay? Now, if I'd gotten 274 hours, does that make sense? Probably not, no. So thinking, does my answer make sense, can a lot of times help us. Now, it doesn't always help us if we're not familiar with the situation, but... Alright, I want you to go ahead and try you and your partner together, see if you can set up number 4. Those of you stuck, break it down little by little. Write your operation words. Hold off on solving because I want to make sure your equation's correct. Alright, let's go ahead and look at this. Kate's English test grade was set 37 points less than. That subtraction, remember that less than? We're going to switch twice. So there's another operation. That's a 2x. It's a special multiplication word. The grade on her science test. If Kate made an 85 on her English test, write an equation that would help us find S, the grade on her science test. Then solve it. Now, I do not like using S as a variable, but I will because they told me to. I don't like it because S's look like 5, so if you're like me, choose just another variable then. Okay, I'm not going to go crazy because you chose another variable. So, all right. So, we're going to have 37 points less than, and we're going to switch it. 2 times her science test, grade on her science test. So, I should use a S there. I hate S as a variable. There's my S. Equals 85. All right, questions on that setup? All right, let's go ahead and solve together. So we're going to add 37 to both sides, leaving me with 2s on the left. 85 plus 37's 122. Opposite of 2s is divide both sides by 2. 122 divided by 2 is 61. And she made a 61 on her science test. I was going to say, I know it's going to have at least one person who said, that's not bad. At least one. Alright, the last problem, I want you to see if you can set up by yourself. Now, it's got a little bit of a trick, but I don't think it's that hard. Go and see if, once you've set it up, check with your partner, see if you'll set it up the same. Once you've set it up, check with your partner. I'd probably use P or J. It doesn't matter what variable, remember? Doesn't matter at all. Alright, are we ready to look at this one? Alright, Kimberly had a coupon for $15 off. What does that mean, $15 off? Is that an operation there? Yeah, it's a subtraction right there. Very good. A purchase of one item. She decided to buy a pair of jeans that was on sale for 2/3 of their original price. What's that of word going to tell us? It's going to be a multiplication. After using the coupon, Kimberly only paid $10. That is our total she ended up paying. What was the original price of the jeans? Alright, so we have $15 off, but that's going to be off of something, right? We're not going to start off with 15 minus. We're going to be taking that off of something. And we're going to be taking it off of 2/3, and I'm going to use the variable P. Again, I do not care what variable you use. It does not matter. I recommend not using O or S or L just because they look like numbers. And the total paid was $10. She got a good deal here. Questions on setting that up? Is my door unlocked? Guys, remember when you come in, you have to check the door is locked every time you open that door. That's good, thank you. Alright, so we're going to solve. We're going to add 15 to both sides. Leaves me with 2/3 P on the left and 25 on the right. When I have a fraction next to my variable, when it's multiplication, when it's coefficient, I'm going to use my reciprocal. These cancel. They actually create a 1. And I can actually put this into the calculator if I wanted to. 25 times 3 is 75, divided by 2 is 37.5. Especially those of you that plan on being on number sense. It's a good trick. Is this okay for a money answer? Thank you. Money needs to have a dollar sign and needs to have that second decimal place. So the price of the jeans to start off with is $37.50. Any questions on this?